What if the problem isn't that you want too much, but that you never stop to ask why? In today's world, consumption is no longer about need. It's about identity. We buy not only to satisfy hunger, thirst, or shelter, but to feel whole, seen, and worthy. Scroll through your phone for 5 minutes, and you'll be told you're not enough. You need better skin, a newer phone, a different body, more success, and before you know it, you're chasing a version of happiness that can't be bought, but is always up for sale. But Buddhism offers a quiet, radical pause. In this noise, instead of asking, "What more can I get?" it asks, "What do I actually need? What does this craving say about the emptiness within me? And what happens when I stop reaching outward and begin turning inward?" Mindful consumption is not about denial. It's not about renouncing all comfort or beauty. It's about awareness, about knowing when enough is truly enough. And in that simple shift lies a profound kind of freedom. This is the story of how we consume, and how that consumption consumes us, and how Buddhist wisdom can show us a gentler, wiser way to live. From the moment we wake up, we begin to consume. We reach for our phones, scroll through endless images, read the news, sip our coffee, and absorb a world that is constantly trying to feed us. Ideas, opinions, products, emotions. Consumption is not just about what we eat or buy. It includes what we take in with our eyes, our ears, our thoughts, and our hearts. In Buddhism, there's a deep understanding that what we consume shapes our consciousness. The Buddha spoke of the 4 kinds of nutriments, not just physical food, but also sensory impressions, volitional thoughts, and consciousness itself. Long ago, in a quiet village nestled near the edge of a forest, there lived a wealthy merchant. Though he had everything, fine clothes, exotic foods, gold beyond measure, he was never satisfied. No matter what he acquired, a hollow feeling lingered in his chest. He thought perhaps more wealth would help, so he traded tirelessly. Then he thought perhaps love was missing, so he courted endlessly. But nothing filled the emptiness. One evening, he invited a wandering monk into his home for a meal. The monk, noticing the anxious movements and endless offerings of his host, finally asked, "Why do you keep offering me more and more? You have already been generous." The merchant laughed nervously and said, "Because I fear it's never enough. My hunger for more is constant." The monk nodded quietly. He then reached into his robe and pulled out a small, polished mirror. "Let me show you something," he said. When the merchant looked into the mirror, he didn't see his own reflection. Instead, he saw a hungry ghost, a figure with a tiny mouth, a massive belly, and desperate eyes. It moved wildly, grasping at food, wealth, love. Yet everything it touched turned to ash. The merchant pulled away in horror. "What is this creature?" he asked. The monk replied, It is you, not your body, but your mind. This is what becomes of us when we are consumed by craving. No matter what you take in, it will never be enough if the one inside you is insatiable. Then how do I heal it? The merchant whispered. The monk placed the mirror in his hands. By learning to stop feeding the ghost and start feeding the heart. With mindfulness, with simplicity, with gratitude. That is the path to freedom. From that day, the merchant began to change. He still ate, worked, and lived, but with a different energy. He paid attention to his impulses. He paused before every purchase. He gave away what he didn't need. And most of all, he tended to his inner hunger not by feeding it blindly, but by understanding it. The ghost grew quieter. The belly of craving softened. And one day, when he looked into the mirror again, all he saw was his own calm reflection. Eyes at peace, heart at ease. This story, told in many forms across Buddhist cultures, reminds us that unchecked desire is like a ghost that haunts the mind. But through awareness and discipline, even the deepest hunger can be transformed into peace. In Buddhist philosophy, the act of consumption is not limited to material goods or food. It extends to everything we take into our mind and body, from the clothes we wear, to the words we speak, from the media we consume, to the thoughts we entertain. Every input shapes our consciousness. The Buddha taught that if we want peace, we must be mindful of what we feed ourselves. At the heart of this teaching is the concept of the 4 kinds of nutriments, ahara, which the Buddha described as the sustenance, not only of the body, but of suffering and liberation alike. Edible food, the physical nourishment we take into the body. Sense impressions, what we see, hear, smell, taste, and touch. Volitional thoughts, our intentions, desires, and mental formations. Consciousness, the mental awareness that is shaped by our experiences and inputs. If we consume mindlessly, overeating, overthinking, overexposing ourselves to violence, conflict, or toxicity, we water the seeds of suffering within us. This is especially true for ta or craving, which the Buddha identified as the root of suffering. Consumption driven by craving creates attachment, and attachment gives birth to dissatisfaction. Mindful consumption begins with recognition, the ability to pause and see clearly, why am I reaching for this? Is this nourishing or numbing me? Does this support clarity or cloud it? It's not about rejection or suppression. Buddhism does not encourage asceticism for most lay people. Instead, it teaches the middle way, a life of moderation, guided by awareness. This means enjoying what is wholesome without clinging to it, and avoiding what is harmful without hatred. The 5 precepts, basic ethical guidelines in Buddhism, also touch on mindful consumption. One of them encourages us to abstain from intoxicants that cloud the mind. In today's context, this extends to digital addictions, negative content, or even compulsive shopping, all forms of consumption that impact our consciousness. When we practice mindfulness, we become sensitive to the consequences of our actions. We notice how a simple meal eaten in gratitude can nourish body and mind. We observe how a few moments of silence can cleanse us of noisy impressions. We realize how watching a violent video or engaging in online outrage leaves a residue in our thoughts and behavior. Mindful consumption is therefore a form of internal hygiene. It protects our inner space from being cluttered, polluted, or overstimulated. On a deeper level, it fosters contentment, santuthi, a sacred satisfaction with what we already have. The Buddha taught that true wealth is not found in accumulation, but in appreciation. To consume mindfully is to say, "This is enough." And that simple statement is revolutionary in a world built on insatiable wanting. Through this lens, every act of consumption becomes a spiritual practice. Eating becomes an opportunity to express gratitude. Listening becomes a moment of presence. Shopping becomes a choice guided by values, not impulses. And slowly, the endless chase begins to slow down. We discover that our peace was never waiting in the next thing. It was available here, now, in how we relate to what already is. This is the essence of mindful consumption in Buddhism. Not less for the sake of deprivation, but less for the sake of liberation. We live in a world designed to keep us consuming. From the moment we wake up, advertisements flood our screens. Social media feeds are packed with curated lives, and the marketplace is always open. 24/7, we're nudged, poked, and prodded into believing we need more things, more experiences, more validation. And the result? A society drowning in abundance, yet starving for meaning. This is where Buddhist wisdom becomes deeply relevant. Mindful consumption is not just an ancient idea. It's a radical act in today's overstimulated world. Every time we pause before a purchase, question an urge, or disengage from digital noise, we reclaim a little bit of inner space. We make a choice not to be enslaved by desire. Think about our relationship with smartphones. We scroll endlessly, often not because we're interested, but because we're avoiding discomfort, loneliness, boredom, stress. These feelings drive us to consume distractions, but consumption without awareness never soothes. It only deepens the craving. The same applies to food. The global rise in emotional eating isn't rooted in hunger. It's rooted in disconnection. We use food to fill emotional voids. And yet, eating mindfully, slowing down, tasting, breathing, being present, has been shown to reduce anxiety and even improve digestion. Social media consumption presents another challenge. Every post, reel, or story is a sense impression that enters our mind stream. Are we consuming inspiration or insecurity? Are we comparing or connecting? Buddhist mindfulness encourages us to become curators of our attention. Not everything deserves to enter the temple of our mind. The environmental crisis, too, is deeply tied to our consumption habits. Fast fashion, single-use plastics, and overproduction are fueled by an unchecked desire for convenience and novelty. Mindful consumption, in this context, becomes an act of compassion toward the earth and future generations, to buy only what we need, to repair instead of replace, to value quality over quantity. These are not just sustainable choices. They are spiritual ones. In the workplace, endless striving for more hours, more promotions, more recognition often leads to burnout and emptiness. Buddhist wisdom reminds us that outer achievement means little if our inner world is chaotic. Working mindfully, resting consciously, and choosing alignment over ambition can transform our relationship with productivity. Even in relationships, we often consume others, expecting them to entertain us, complete us, or rescue us from ourselves. But the Buddhist path teaches interbeing, the understanding that real connection arises not from taking, but from mutual presence and care. So how can we begin to apply mindful consumption in daily life? Practice digital detox. Unplug regularly. Set boundaries on screen time. Notice how your mind feels without the noise. Simplify your surroundings. Declutter not just your home, but your digital life and commitments. Ask, what truly serves me? Buy with awareness before purchasing. Pause and ask, do I need this? Why am I reaching for it? Eat with intention. Avoid multitasking while eating. Chew slowly. Give thanks. Let eating be an act of gratitude. Create a mindful media diet. Choose content that uplifts, educates, or inspires. Limit exposure to fear-driven or divisive narratives. Mindful consumption is not about living in lack. It's about living in truth, honoring your real needs, not your reactive impulses. It's about choosing presence over possession, quality over quantity, depth over distraction, and most importantly, it's about remembering that peace is not found in having more, but in needing less. In a culture that says, you are not enough unless you consume, mindful consumption whispers back, you are already enough. Come home to that truth. There's something deeply liberating about making a quiet, conscious choice, not because someone told you to, not out of guilt, but because you've come to see clearly. That is the essence of mindful consumption. It is not a set of strict rules or renunciations. It's not about living in fear of pleasure or denying life's beauty. Rather, it's a shift in posture from reacting to responding, from grasping to releasing. In Buddhism, we are not asked to demonize desire. We are taught to understand it. When desire drives us unconsciously, it controls us, but when we examine it, when we hold it gently in awareness, something begins to change. The impulse softens, the craving loses its grip. We begin to see that not all desires are wholesome, and not all consumption nourishes us. And so, the invitation isn't to become a monk or give up the world. is to meet the world with awareness. Ask yourself, even in the smallest moments, why am I reaching for this? What am I really hungry for? Sometimes, you'll find the hunger is for love, for peace, for stillness, and no amount of shopping, scrolling, or snacking can truly satisfy that. But a deep breath might, a walk in silence might, a cup of tea enjoyed with both hands might. Mindful consumption is an act of self-respect. It honors the inner life. It honors our responsibility to others. It honors the earth, because every time we choose wisely, we plant seeds, not of deprivation, but of freedom. We begin to rewrite the story that tells us we are empty without more. We begin to remember that joy can arise from simplicity, and that peace is possible not in the next purchase, but in the next pause. As the Buddha said, just as the great ocean has one taste, the taste of salt, so too does this Dhamma have one taste, the taste of freedom. Freedom begins with awareness, and awareness begins with a single mindful choice. Imagine waking up in a home that breathes. There's space on the shelves, quiet in your morning routine, clarity in your mind. Your day begins not with a rush to check notifications or place an order, but with stillness, a breath, a gentle moment of presence. And in that moment, you already feel full. This is the life mindful consumption points toward. Not a life stripped of joy, but a life freed from excess. A life that breathes lightly, moves gently, and listens deeply. It is not about having less. It's about needing less. It's about knowing that joy doesn't come from what you hold in your hands, but from what you hold in your heart. The teachings of the Buddha do not condemn the material world. Rather, they illuminate the dangers of clinging. He did not say, "Do not enjoy." He said, "Do not be possessed by your enjoyment." In our world today, it takes courage to walk this path, to not buy what everyone is buying, to step away from the endless scroll, to stop and ask, is this truly for me? But that is the quiet rebellion of awareness, to live not on autopilot, but with intention, and that intention becomes your teacher. It guides you in how you eat, how you speak, how you choose your work, how you engage with the earth. It touches the way you decorate your space and even the way you breathe. You begin to see that every choice is a chance to return. Return to balance. Return to enough. Return to yourself. When we consume mindfully, we shift from accumulation to appreciation. We learn to cherish what we already have. We find richness not in having many things, but in being deeply present with a few, a single book well read, a single meal fully tasted, a single conversation fully heard. And as our inner world becomes lighter, so does our footprint on the outer world. We consume less, we waste less, we harm less. This is the ripple of mindful living. Starts within, but it touches everything. So, may your life be filled not with clutter but with clarity, not with endless cravings, but with quiet contentment. May you find joy in enough. May you choose with care. And may you walk gently through this world, awake, free, and whole. As the Buddha taught, let us live happily, not hating those who hate us. Among those who hate, let us dwell free from hate. We might also say, in this modern world, let us live simply. Among those chasing more, let us dwell freely. Among those who feel trapped in need, let us consume with mindfulness and awaken with peace. This is the Buddhist path, not away from life, but deeper into it, one mindful step at a time.